Hey everybody, how's it going? Dan here with
Steven Schinder.
yeah. Oh yeah, my last name's Shinder too.
Yeah, we have the same last name. We're related.
We are. I'm the father.
And I'm the son.
Yeah, right before Father's Day, I get to see Steve in person today as you're watching this, tomorrow as we're recording it. One of the rare times we're pre-recording again, like in the olden days.
Yeah, it's really wild to think that we used to pre-record the first few episodes, but now we've gotten it down to where things are smoother and easier. Um, so
Going
yeah, for
live, yeah.
Yeah, so for this episode, we're celebrating Alan White on what would have been his 75th birthday.
Wow.
And to do that, well, you actually suggested this, Dad, that we bring back that game we've tried once in a while called AntithesYes. And the way that this game works is one of us says the title of a yes song, and the other person says a yes song that feels like the opposite of that. So we're doing that here, but with a more Alan White centric focus as we think of each song. And I guess we can each explain uh, what Alan, what he adds to each of these songs and how different they are from the opposite and whatnot.
Right, because as a drummer and a musician, um, he had such a vast breadth of abilities. He wasn't just one thing. Even though he brought a very distinct sound when he replaced Bill in Yes, it really changed the Yes sound in a lot of ways. And that doesn't mean that it was just he brought one thing. He brought a vast uh, assortment of tools and flavors and colors and textures and everything. So that's why it to me it made sense to play this game, because there's so many different Alan Whites within Yes music, if you will. Even if we just take uh, the Remembering, for instance, and you look at the different parts of that epic piece of music, there's different things there. If you look at Wondrous Stories versus Going the One, two songs on the same album that are the drumming and the music's completely different. So that's what the concept is, and we'd love for you to chime in the comments as you're watching this with some, and we'll go back and review them and everything too. By the way, one of the reasons we are pre-recording this is because I think I mentioned it already. No,
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, like we're meeting up. I'm traveling. Well, we're each traveling from our respective places to go visit my brother, your other son, Alex, and
in San Diego, so it
yeah,
just
so
wasn't conducive to do the show there. Plus, we want to
right,
party
yeah,
with him and his wife. So,
yeah.
all
All
right.
right.
So you go first.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with this is maybe a wild card because it's maybe not an obvious one, but I feel like Wonder Love from Open Your Eyes. It's kind of a soft sounding song, but there's a moment where the drum kind of kicks in, like during the singing of hoping for love, hoping tomorrow. And you have the,
Yeah.
and I kind of wish that that moment had repeated a bit more before the song shifts gears, because I do think that moment that the drumming adds on top of that melodic part, like that could have
Yeah.
gone on for a bit more, and it does really elevate the song a bit after a sort of gradual, unassuming opening, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
So, what's a song off the top of your head that feels like the opposite of that one? That's
the
Alan's favorite.
very simple, slow, dun, 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 the outro of Circus of Heaven, when the
Oh
drums
wow!
come in, ba, 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 almost like a ballad. Dun, 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 dun. There's just so much air there and breathing, where it's quite
Okay,
the opposite of what you're talking about.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, cool. So mine is actually Alan's embellishments and adaptations to this feeds into your idea that you infused into this game, which is it doesn't have to be, you know, a whole song, but even sections. So if you listen to Yes songs, and you listen to Yours Is No Disgrace, where Alan totally fills up what is normally the empty parts on the studio version. Whereas on Yes songs, yesterday morning came a smile upon your face, and then he just fills in those little gaps with those fills that on the album there's virtually nothing at all there.
Right. Yeah,
So
because on Yes songs, it's pretty much just yesterday, but on the like on the studio version, it's just that. But on the Yes songs, you have the like
yeah,
you have
and then those
that on top of
fills into
it. Yeah.
each next part. And honestly, I listened to that very young when Yes Songs came out and didn't knowingly even hear the studio version yet. So then when I went back and heard the studio version, I was like, oh, so like he added all that stuff, and it was really kind of mind blowing for me. And because it fits so well, you know.
Yeah. I kind of want to at some point see if I can find a live version that had Bill on it before Alan joined to see how different that might be from the studio version as well.
Isn't there one in one of those videos from BBC, or maybe I'm
Oh,
thinking,
sounding out. Yeah, I think there is an excerpt
yeah,
of
I
that.
believe
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have to check that. Um,
So what would the
so
antithesis of that be for you, where Alan kind of really added all those embellishments that are pretty ruckus fills going on there, you know, to a spot where there was nothing on the original version at all.
right. So I guess I'm kind of looking at like I'm focusing more on the opposite element, and that can mean a lot of things. So I think in this instance, maybe the pacing is different in terms of how what I'm about to say might be opposite. You know, yours is no disgrace feels fast paced, but shoot high, aim low
Oh,
feels slower paced to me.
it
I
is.
now I've said before on the show that you know lots of people love shoot high, aim low. I kind of don't enjoy it as much. Like I kind of like some people say it's like a number one track on the album, but I kind of don't get it. But I do think that
Trevor's gonna be
Alan's
mad.
no, it's still a good song. It's just yeah, I don't know. It's kind of quieter and slower paced, but I do think Alan's drumming does add a bit more energy to it. In a way. And I think that there are some Yes songs where, because of the slower or softer feel of it, adding Alan's drumming onto it might help people reconsider like how much they like it and be like, oh, maybe I should keep listening to this and give it a chance. Because there are some people where like slower or softer songs automatically don't do it for them. And so does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, I'm gonna go now with
Well, don't I say one
oh
and
yeah, you're
then
just kidding.
okay.
I was already
All right.
excited about my next one.
All right.
Oh wait,
Uh,
I see we have a comment from Dave Watkinson. Oh yeah, that we're recording this. Never mind.
right, right. So another one I thought of is The More We Live, Let Go. You
Oh
know, it begins, it's a very mysterious sounding song, and I think beginning with is it cymbals or is there a gong? Like the beginning of it has like a very it's kind of
yeah,
echoey and it's
yeah,
kind
like cymbal rolls. Yeah,
yeah, like it really sets the tone for the song and like
yeah.
the overall mood of it.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in a while. Now I'm inspired to put that on. Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking now. I got Chris's voice in my head, which is just spectacular in that song.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Um, Another one that where he leaves a lot of air in there and lets the song breathe through. Um, I'd say the opposite of that would be one of my favorites that I was going to use for the next thing. And uh, yeah, I'll go with Miracle of Life, where he really, fills it up before it comes down, right before the singing. But that whole intro after that,
Oh yeah, you got the do 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 do.
Hold on to the miracle, like just love that song. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a great one.
yeah. So how about one I thought of earlier is the only song I believe they ever recorded, and this is intentional, um, that and being that it's a tribute to Bob Marley, has a reggae, flavor to it. The Messenger.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing really. There's a slight reminiscence of Shoot High, Aim Low, Shoot Low, aim, yeah, that one, but it's tweaked into a reggae beat, which is kind of, I'm just now realizing that. But so what would the
Yeah.
opposite of something like that be, where there's actually a bit more of a whole different ethnic flavor to that?
Yeah, like you've put the shoot high and low thing, and yeah, I do kind of see a similar sort of cadence to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the opposite of that, that's a great question. Huh. Yeah, this is a tough one. I'm like trying really hard to like reach into hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I think for the opposite of this, it's kind of tough to think of like an opposite cultural influence. So I think instead I'm gonna think of release, and how that's like
Oh,
straight ahead, like
yeah.
bashing and banging, and like it's totally a different feel compared
Yeah.
to the messenger.
That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. And then you
Yeah,
get the drum solo in the middle. Yeah.
right. So for my next one, um, let's see. I'm gonna say this is another like probably one you wouldn't think of, but "Run Through the Light." It's
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's it's
Now
a probably the
everything is okay.
yeah, it's a quieter song, but I do think that Alan adding the like as subtle as it is does add a bit
Oh, yeah.
more to the song. Maybe it would have felt a bit more like you maybe like a ballad, a bit more like a ballad if it didn't have that bit in there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you talk about the beginning part as opposed to when the beat gets going into the basic straight 4/4 beat. Like you're thinking of where the where there's that part. Is that the part you're talking about?
Yeah, I think
Because when
it's
the song gets going and it goes run through the light, it's very straightforward. So which part are you
yeah,
talking about?
I think it's when I'm running through the song in my head. So
Yeah.
Trevor is like, I asked my love to give me shelter, and then I think the
Yeah.
is there.
Right.
It's either there or whenever that repeats later. So
Yeah.
it's one of those.
Okay, so that's a good one. So I'd say the opposite of that is something um, very straightforward, and I'm going to go with, and also much more toned down, because that's really like bam right in your face, right?
Mm.
It just, again, even in that part alone, speaks to the production leap of drama from Tormato. I mean, just that one part alone, even the whole different universe, that drum sound. I'm going to go with Imagine, that he recorded with John Lennon.
Oh wow,
It's
yeah, I
just,
was expecting that.
yeah, nice, soft, straightforward 4/4.
Yeah,
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, just more in the background.
yeah, that's a good one. I saw the Royal Affair tour. They performed that, and it was like a nice acknowledgement of Alan's past history and also just British music in general. I saw that recently. There was at least one Yes concert. I don't know if it was, maybe it was in Liverpool and this was why, but they played a little bit of the Beatles' "I Feel Fine." So
Oh,
yeah, so I guess maybe you could see like acknowledgement of Beatles ties as a sort of tribute as well. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So whose turn is it now? So you
Mine.
said okay.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's your turn.
Okay. So I'm going to go with it's weird. So this has been bugging me, so I have to bring this up. A little pause in the action if we can. You can't hear this noise, but do you see what that candle's doing on the right?
Yeah, it's kind of flickering.
Yeah, it's a wooden wick, but it's making the sounds going. And it's like Alan joined us here because there's a rhythm. It's never done that. And there's Alan's
Oh,
picture there with me, folks, when he was just turned 42. Yeah, that's just weird. Anyhow,
yeah.
thanks, Alan, for joining us. I knew Alan, folks, from 1989 until he passed. That's
Mm.
a picture of Steve's brother. You can't see it from there, in my arms when he was 2 weeks old or a week old at Alan's place when he lived in the San Fernando Valley where I grew up. But anyhow, I'm going to go with um, brain farting. Oh, Endless Dream.
Okay.
We're after the bam 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 dun 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 chicken dun chicken bam dun 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 chicken dun chicken dun 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 because it's very syncopated. It's all over the place.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not a mess. I'm not saying it's a mess, folks, but it's very syncopated, and there's some very intricate rhythmic cycles and patterns going on there, let alone
Yeah.
the melodic stuff. So that I'm going with that. That's like a brain teaser.
Okay. Let's see. I guess the opposite of that.
Almost anything.
But- yeah, well, I mean, a really simple one would be like maybe "Time is Time," but
Oh, wow,
y-
yeah.
yeah, but again, like I feel like his presence elevates those sorts of songs at least a bit, because
Yeah. I
without
loved
it,
the
yeah,
acoustic version of that on the 35th anniversary tour. That was just beautiful. And he's playing not with
yeah,
drumsticks, but what are called rods. I wonder if I have a pair. I don't have a pair up here, but they're it's a bundled it's bundled little rods of sticks basically, and it just gives a whole, not quite brushes, but it just, that the sound of that was just great. And Steve on the slide dobro guitar,
yeah,
it's just a beautiful piece, and it was done so well live.
yeah. So for my next one, this might be kind of a curveball, but
And for my
the
next pick,
but the bluesy acoustic version of Roundabout that they did on that tour.
oh yeah, the Chicago bluesy version,
Yeah, he did a great job adapting to that
that sort
style
of
for that song.
shuffly thing. So I'm gonna go with um I'm trying to pull the name out of my foggy brain.
Do you remember what album it's from?
Yeah, it's from I'll go with Machine Messiah. because that's just such a
Okay.
heavy, straightforward beat, you know, bang, kang, 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 as opposed to shun, chun, 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 chun,
Yeah.
kang, kang, kang. Oh, they should have just come back and forth between those two.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are worlds apart musically and culturally. Culturally,
Yeah.
you know, if you really look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they
Mm.
should have done that on the Union tours, switch, but like one drummer plays a bit of Machine Messiah, the other drummer plays something
Yeah,
official
wow.
roundabout.
Um, that was a good one. Um, wow, all this music swirling around in my head from this. And I don't know why I'm having like a sticky moment with titles for some reason.
Yeah, you're thinking more of the music than the titles at the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah. And normally that stuff just like right there for me. So bear with me here, folks. Um,
Maybe you could like verbalize the sound, like
so
how
I'm gonna go switch gears to something that I know the title of. If we take the battle scene in Gates of Delirium.
okay. Yeah.
All that stuff. I mean, just that whole section right there.
Yeah, it's appropriately chaotic and warlike. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
You even got the suffering in there is almost kind of haunting. All those voices in the
yeah, for
background and all
sure.
that crazy stuff. Again, how old was I when that came out? I was 13, 12, and it
Well,
was
it
a
came
little,
out 74, so you would have been 11.
yeah, so it was a little freaky with headphones on and then
Yeah,
hearing the suffering and because it depicts what it is so well. You know, that's a really great example of the theater of the mind, it creating that. It was, I pictured burning bodies and just anyway. What would your antithesis be of the war scene, the battle scene, war scene in Gates of Delirium?
I guess the antithesis that comes to mind is turn of the century. You know, it's
Oh,
a yeah. I mean, I know it's a sad song for a huge chunk, but I feel like at the end there's kind of this hopeful sounding moment, at least in terms of the
yeah,
music. You know, the do 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 do, and you have the
yeah. Jabum, jabum with the timpani. Yep.
yeah, yeah,
That's a great one. Good one.
yeah.
And
Okay,
folks, chime in with two songs where Alan's drumming is just completely different, and we'll go through the comments over the maybe tomorrow. We'll peek at it.
yeah. Maybe we'll reply in the comments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so another one that comes to mind for me is Dreamtime. You know,
Oh,
yeah, it's very energetic. Look at the
yeah. And the timpani drums, it's very orchestral, symphonic, actually. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a good one. Okay. So that against um uh Owner of a Lonely Heart. Are you familiar with that one?
Yeah. I think I've heard it. Like it's on the radio or something, right?
I heard it at the market the other day.
Oh, really?
Right after Money by Pink Floyd.
Oh, okay.
Like I
Yeah,
never thought I'd hear those songs. I wonder if they ever did.
yeah. I mean, that's not too surprising to me, but
Well,
yeah, talk
because
about the drumming on "Owner of a Lonely
yeah,
Heart."
so of Owner of a Lonely Heart, it's Steve's example is very open and live and big, and he got the symphony playing with the band, and then with Owner of a Lonely Heart, it's very
Yeah,
it's very tight and clean and produced and very, not that the other one's not produced, but it's so much more mechanical. Almost sounds like it could have been programmed. It wasn't, though. We know that if you read Trevor Horn's book, people, you know, it's so the complete opposite sounds in every way. as far as the drum and his set and the way he's playing.
Yeah, and it's fascinating how not too long later, when they adapted the song for their live tours, they made it like even more of a rock and roll song.
Yeah. Even the acoustic version on the 35th anniversary tour was a bit more open than that.
Mm, yeah. Huh, interesting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I'll never forget hearing that beginning for the first time.
Right.
I
Yeah.
was, I'll tell you, I was like 9 at night. I was working overtime at a silkscreen shop, and we had the local radio on at the time. KMET was still around, I think, or maybe it was KLOS, neighboring rock stations, and we had speakers playing, and I was all alone, and I remember them singing, and here's the new Yes song. I'm sure that's not the first time they played it because it was at 9 at night, so I doubt it was. But and when it started out with that intro, I'm like, what the f- is that? It sounds like trash cans or something. And I went out and got it right away because I needed to hear that again, but you can't rewind the radio, right?
Yeah, you like needed to solve this mystery of like
Yeah, this
what's going on with
sonic,
Yes now.
yeah. No, but the sonic sound of those drums in the beginning sounded like metal trash cans down the hall.
Yeah.
Just the sonic qualities of it. So yeah, so that's mine against yours.
Okay.
Those are so different. Those might be almost as different as anything we've mentioned, other than my Circus of Heaven against your, I forgot what it was now, but yeah.
Yeah, I think what this discussion is reminding us is that Alan really was great at adapting to whatever the assignment was, you
And
know?
inspiring the rest of the sound too for each
Yeah.
album and each song as well. Not just being the guy who just followed instructions and found a way to fit in, but also created the sound of a lot of these songs we're mentioning, and the albums. Yeah.
Yeah, because Bill Bruford and Alan White, both very prominent drummers in the history of Yes albums, but you can tell that, they both do great things, but it does feel like a different feel, like the
Oh
way
yeah.
they each approach it. So they like influence the sound in their own ways.
Yeah. I'm not sure there's many bands that can cite, if any, such success and longevity in such a pivotal change in positions, where the person replacing the predecessor, the successor replacing the predecessor, their styles are so different, yet the band went on. Remember, Bill was only with them 5 albums, right?
Yeah, 5 albums.
And Alan was with them another almost 50 years.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's another example of that at all. There's been some bands that had tremendous success after replacing such a pivotal position with such different voices. If you look at Ronnie James Dio replacing Ozzy, if you look at uh, AC/DC's vocalist, if you look at, there's a few things like that, but nothing that drastic that had still such longevity to it. And that, again, I think that speaks to how Alan became such a driving force in the artistic soundscape of the Yes sound.
Yeah, yeah. I'm Yeah, I was trying to think of like a similar example. I guess this is pretty different, but in Rush, that first Rush album with John Rutsey feels very different, and then Neil uh, redefined the
With Fly By
sound for
Night.
for
Yeah.
the next few decades for like the rest of the band's
Yeah.
tenure.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess that has some similarities and differences to it
It
as
does.
well. Yeah.
If you think of Alan's first studio recording assignment, he did Yes songs and then Tales from Topographic Oceans.
Yeah, they
So
gave him an AP calculus test on the first day of
yeah, like
like
basically take
math.
everything you've ever known how to play and put it in this thing we're doing. And if you listen, like, I remember the last time I listened to that album from beginning to end, was when you and I were. I
It's
think I
actually
was,
and you and I.
it's. I was driving from. Was it your house to Los Angeles where I grew up, or was it from San Diego to? It was one of those trips a year or so ago, and remember, coincidentally, when I heard the remembering, I hadn't listened to that in a while, and I played it like 3 times, and I kept calling you and pointing things out. Do you remember that?
I do remember the phone call. I just don't remember the context of what
Yeah.
was going
And
on.
my point is, like, I want to ask people, if you're a fan of Tales, when was the last time you listened to that from the beginning to end, all 4 sides without interruptions, without a couple days later, now you listen to the ancient, and then a couple days, just sit and listen to it. No acid or mushrooms required. It's all built into the music and the lyrics and the cover. And if you listen to, that's Alan's whole musical body in that one album. Not that he didn't still explore and experiment and improve over the years. Certainly he did with different music and stuff. Um, look at Lift Me Up, and using electronic drums and everything. And then it was Bill that emulated that part on
Yeah.
the Onion Union tour. But and then take the fact that Tales came out in like 1891 or whenever it was, and it's just, to me, the best example of someone's wide breadth of musicianship on one album. And you could say that about Alan. You could say that about Steve, definitely. You could say it about Chris. You could say it about John. Rick would probably completely be insulted if we said it about him. But you do hear, well, seriously, but you do hear glimpses of different points of Rick's vocabulary on that album. But for the others, I think everything they ever knew how to do is dumped into that album. And the best
Yeah.
thing about that is it's not a mess. It's not like they said, let's take everything we know and just barf it out into this thing. It's very well, yeah, there's some stuff that people might argue where there's a lot of padding, as Rick used to say, or, I think those are some of the phone calls where I said, I think the remembering could be about 8 minutes shorter if they did this, this, and this. But it's not that any of it's bad. There's just some redundancies that maybe in hindsight didn't have to be there. I know this doesn't come out nice, but if my point is there's so much there that if I wanted to introduce someone to Alan's playing, I'd say you got to listen to all 4 sides, and you can only get up to go to the bathroom, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I listen to that album, I have to listen beginning to end. I don't do like one side at a time or whatever.
Yeah.
And you've just reminded me that I have that vinyl version of Tales that I got from Amoeba Music last summer, and now that I have a record player, I can try that out sometime in the near future. I kind of have like an order that I'm going through with these records on this record player. So
That's
yeah.
cool. I'm really, folks, into, Steve knows this because we work together, of course. I'm really into audiobooks because I don't have a lot of time to read a physical book, but yet I also like having the physical book. But I listen to a lot of audiobooks. A lot of them most of them, they're either biographies or business related. And I got 3 new books, just started listening to a new one by Seth Godin. And my plan was, I'm going to just blow through these books driving from, I live in the mountains of Arizona, driving to San Diego with a stop or two. It's like 7 hours or so. And then 7 hours back at the end of the trip, 14 hours of driving. Fuck it. I'm not doing that. I'm taking a break for Father's Day weekend. I'm not listening to any business. I'm going to be disconnected from the business, Drum Talk TV and Yesshift. I'm putting on Tales as soon as I pull out the driveway. I've got the CD I'm going to put on, and just, that's where I'm going to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you also have like the talk box set to get through as well. So
I do.
you have plenty.
I got it. You know what? Hold on. This, I still have it in the freaking bubble wrap. I got to unwrap it so I can take it on the trip. And as Steve said in his unboxing, I'm going to take off the bubble wrap and play with it later. I
Right.
loved that. That was so youthful for you to say, because no one doesn't play with bubble wrap. If you don't, run to the ER and get your pulse checked.
Right.
And yet I got yet another burning shed coaster. I'm gonna have a set of like 12 pretty soon. Put
Yeah,
that
I
right
love
there.
the design of those actually.
Yeah. And even if you take the music on this one album, even if let's think about that for a minute in regard to Alan's playing.
Oh, like
This
if
album,
Talk had been the only Yes album.
yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
the amount of music, same thing, even with The Ladder, one of my favorite Yes albums ever. The breadth of music and his drumming styles on that album, Lightning Strikes versus The Messenger versus uh, what's my other big favorite on that one?
New Language.
New Languages, but also the other real upbeat one, not Lightning Strikes, but
Face to Face.
Face to Face. Oh,
Yeah.
finally, I love that
Oh
one
yeah,
too.
finally, yeah.
Yeah, just that's such a great album. I'm listening to that one too. But that's the thing about Alan's drumming, and in part why no Yes album was all one thing. Even their concept albums, even going back to Bill with Close to the Edge, concept album, sort of, not really, but
Right. It has an epic on one
it's an
side, I
epic, and
think.
it's not all the same thing. Same thing with Relayers. Same thing with the Epic Tales. Same thing with anything. Even 90125, Talk. Pick any album, and there's a wide range of things going on. None of them are all one. Like, oh, that's the blank one. That's the purple one, and that's the green one, and it's not like that. Well, Close to the Edge is green, so you can go with that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think that says a lot about their music, and not all bands can claim that. There's a lot of bands where even if they grew, but this is childproof shrink wrap. What's happening here? Even though they grew, they were still that sort of thing. I hate to use the term a narrow soundscape because that doesn't sound nice and it doesn't sound complimentary, but like Iron Maiden, okay? That's another great one. Bruce Dickinson replacing, well, there was Clive Burr, there was having a brain fart. Oh my gosh, the other drummer, but Nico McBrain replacing them, Bruce Dickinson replacing the original vocalist. Wow, where's my brain? I'm halfway checked out for my little holiday. That's what it is. Another example where they went on to have great success. But Iron Maiden is Iron Maiden, and they're the best at being Iron Maiden. But I think Yes and Led Zeppelin, I would argue, are just put on physical graffiti. There's every alphabet of music on there in the Led Zeppelin language. If you look at In My Time of Dying and Trampled Underfoot versus Bron Yr and Down by the Seaside. To me, there's that same comparison with Yes, that they just did what they wanted and it always worked. I think something for everybody. Ooh, this is cool. It's like a little library.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be a deep dive. And just going to my wife's going to have to slip food under the door or something. This is going sort of off track, but it's certainly Alan and Yes related.
Yeah, you're like looking through the
wow.
CD
Yeah,
sleeves.
this quote I'm going to read. It says, it must be by Trevor, I think. And I turned around and for the first time looked at John and he was crying.
Oh, wow.
I think
yeah.
Trevor mentioned that in one of our interviews with him.
Maybe.
You went in and started working with whoever was there. This is great. Oh, they would literally fly guys out in the white coats and they'd take notes at the back of the studio. Do you remember what that reference is, Steve?
It's been maybe a couple weeks since I read it,
but it references what he said in our interview that the computers they were using.
Technology?
Yeah, the technology.
Yeah,
IBM would fly people in to run the computers and stuff, or to troubleshoot the computers and to see how Trevor was using the technology and stuff. This is really neat. I'm excited about this. But let's close with one more antithesis each.
Okay. Do you all go first, or should I go first?
You go first.
Okay. I guess I'll go with. Yeah, I'm just like thinking all over. Okay, how about Into the Storm from Fly From Here? You know, you got the
Yeah.
yeah, it's like very energetic.
Yeah. And dramatic.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
which
go
is
with
fitting.
yeah. I'm gonna go with one that's more I'm gonna say very happy
Okay,
sounding, and
so Gates of Delirium.
the battle scene. We did that. That's funny. No, I'm gonna go with something that is very happy and uplifting, and it's due to Steve's melodicism and Alan's bouncy beat. I'm trying to get the name of the song.
Is it from the ladder?
No, it's from Keys Studio.
Oh, okay.
Ban, dam,
Um,
bam, bam, bow, diddle, diddle,
oh,
diddle,
Bring
diddle,
Me to the
diddle.
Power.
Yeah, diddle, 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 down, 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 diddle, 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 diddle. That's such a happy-go-lucky skipping down
Yeah,
the street song.
yeah. That's a weird one, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's quirky. It has a.
doodle, doodle,
It
doodle,
even
doodle,
has like a
doodle.
mood change. Like once it gets to the.
Totally.
If we don't give them the
Yeah,
keys, like how's that the same song? It's
right.
wild. Yeah,
And that's a whole other game we could play. How is that the same song?
yeah,
Um, yeah, we could do that. And all of Tails counts as that. So let's just
yeah.
put
Like
that over there.
each side of Tails qualifies for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Alan White, he would have been 75 June 16th,
Or June
2024.
14th.
14th, 2020. I'm thinking of your brother's birthday 2 days later.
Right. Yeah.
Um, wow, 75. Got the call to play with John Lennon at like 19 or 20. Got picked up by Yes. Played with a lot of other great artists in the meantime. Leon Russell, Joe Cocker. Um, just a tremendous career, a tremendous mark on music, and a tremendously nice guy, down to earth, nice guy. I've told the story many times when I went to his house and he answered the door in Speedos and a scuba tank on his back. He was going to go next door and go down to his neighbor's pool and clear his drain of some leaves or something like that.
Yeah, and it kind of makes one wonder, like if he had not been recruited by Yes, what would he have ended up doing? But and ultimately, we can never know. So it's
Yeah.
just we were just so lucky to have him in Yes and
Well,
contribute a lot to it.
yeah. On that note, can you think of, did they have anyone else on their list?
Not that I'm aware of, or
Yeah, I don't think we've
I
ever
think
heard.
they considered Phil Collins, perhaps.
You're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. The other thing about Alan is he always took time with fans. I remember you were there at the 2020 NAMM show.
Yeah.
We had him booked to come to our booth. I was going to interview him. I gave him the award, the first Drum Talk TV Prague Legacy Award. And Gigi, his wife, and I had our wires crossed, and she understood it to be a different day. So we had about 120 people lined up to see him, and he wasn't coming that day. And we had to tell everybody, please come back tomorrow. He'll be here tomorrow at 2:00. Same thing. Everyone came back, had a line. Now that gave them a chance to go home and get some memorabilia for him to sign too. So a lot more people had albums and programs and things like that. And people waited a good, like, do you remember? It was a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah, I don't remember that change actually, but I mean, a lot has happened since then. I
Yeah.
mean, that was before everything, and yeah, but
COVID being
that
everything. Yeah. But
yeah,
people were in line for about, see, I remember this. People were in line for, I want to say, at least an hour and a half or 2 hours. And I was getting nervous that people were going to start to get a little impatient and
mm,
restless. And a CBD company that was one of our sponsors for the show gave us these little, like the size of this stone, samples of CBD topical cream for paying.
Right.
We had about 200 of those. So N just said, let's just pass out a bunch of these. And we did. So we start just passing these out and talking to people. So why are you here to see Al? Just to kind of keep people busy and stave off the mob, right? Because you never want the mob to rule. And then Alan showed up and he did the interview, and then we sat him at a high top hat table. We got plenty of pictures that your brother took of that. Alex was our photographer that year, and he took time until the line ran out. He must have sat there for an hour signing stuff, talking to people. And it's great to see someone of that stature do that, is my point. Again, it just speaks to the kind of person that he was.
Yeah, definitely.
And Gigi being so patient and not hauling him off,
Right. Yeah.
So thank you, Gigi, for just everything, and all the music Alan brought to the world will live on forever. And what can you say? It's fair to say that Alan White is Yes.
Yeah, I mean, each Yes member adds something, but Alan was there for a lot of it. Yeah.
Alan was there had the longest run of any member.
Yeah.
Almost 50 years, just shy of a few months of 50 years. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Who holds a job that long?
Yeah.
So anyhow, any closing words from you, Steve?
I think we've covered it. Alan was such a huge part of the Yes legacy, and no matter what Yes music you listen to, whether he's on it or not, it's very easy to think about him and his Yes. Yeah. So
he literally perpetuated and there was perpetual change, but he perpetuated the Yes brand with what he brought, and they were able to carry on and regroup and carry on even after a pause here and there.
Yeah.
And he was a big part of rebreathing life into the band with Chris. But I would challenge anybody to, whatever Yes sensibilities you have, go listen to something that either you've never listened to by Yes, or something you've listened to but didn't think it was for you now that you've had a break from that, and just kind of rediscover some of their stuff in the context of what you already do like. And I think you might be surprised to rediscover with new ears, like, wow, they really did create pretty much anything. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. You can follow us at anchor.fm if you're just a audio podcast type listener, anchor.fm/Yesshift, and on YouTube at Yesshift, and on Drum Talk TV, on Facebook at Yesshift. And we do simulcast on Drum Talk TV on Facebook. And you can write to us, but we're not giving that out because sometimes people actually write. No, go ahead, Steve. Where can they write it?
Yesshift podcast at gmail.com.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks for following what we do.
All right.
And next month is our 4-year anniversary.
3-year actually.
3. Oh, feels like 4.
Yeah, it does feel like 4.
We've done so many episodes. We've done almost 150 regular show episodes and countless news edition episodes. So
yeah, I've stopped counting basically.
Yeah,
but
we
have
probably have done 220-ish episodes in coming up on 3 years.
Yeah, so we have stuff coming up in these coming weeks and next month and beyond. And keep on following us, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, everybody.